Owning a lot of land is a big responsibility, and I think especially the terrestrial part of it, the landscape, the forests, the grasslands, when people drive by the watershed, it generally looks the same to them, I think, over time, and it's not. It does change. I'm Tim Ramirez. I'm the Division Manager for Natural Resources and Lands Management. It takes effort and resources and planning and some thought that goes into the management of the property for all the reasons that we manage it, to protect drinking water quality, to protect the native species that live in those places, the plants and the animals, to minimize our risk from wildfire, which has become obviously a lot more well-known in the last few years. We have about 100 people in full-time positions, and seasonally we add about 20 or 30 more, and they're spread throughout the entire system from the top to the bottom. So at Moccasin, all the way down to San Francisco in 7 different locations. We do 2 primary things. We're the people that manage the land that we own in the Bay Area and the right-of-way. And we also do environmental compliance for operations and maintenance of the entire water system and also the land that we own. So if somebody has to comply with state or federal regulations for work they're doing, our staff help navigate them through that process, and then the day-to-day management of the property that we own. And we're organized geographically and also by function. So 2 of the sections are mirrors of each other. It's the footprint over here of the Peninsula watershed and then the right-of-way in San Francisco. And their mirror is the East Bay and the Tuolumne group. And so both groups have watershed keepers, biologists, a forester, a hydrologist. They're the ones who actually are out on the property doing the work every day. The 3rd section is environmental compliance. So they're a little bit firewalled off from everybody else by design, because they're independent, and even if their colleagues in the watersheds are doing work, they still have to navigate the federal and state compliance paths. The other thing I would mention, I think that we do that helps with delivery and drinking water is the education component. I think the more people that know about the watersheds, why we own them, how they're managed, where their water comes from, it always helps. And we want to make sure that the customers in particular know about those things so that they have an understanding, especially when they're paying for all these things, what they're getting for their money. One of the things that I really like about the position that we have in our staff is we see a cross-section of California. So literally from the High Sierra, from the crest, all the way to the bay and to the ocean, and everything in between. So the forests, the National Forest, Yosemite National Park, the Central Valley, the Bay Area watersheds, the East Bay, which is more traditional grasslands and oaks, and then on the peninsula, which is very different, more forested now, but also grasslands. And then the bay and the marine environment. It's just every possible environment you could think of in California, we literally have a chance to work in those spaces. We've been able to create a ladder for folks that are, at the beginning, interested in getting some experience when they're in school, whether it's high school or college, and they come in to work with us as interns. And it opens doors and it opens people's eyes. And it's not just theirs, also ours. I think we learn a lot more about the system and the people around us and the world when we bring in new people. And the young people in particular have really made a big splash. We have now, over time, watched several people go from interns to permanent staff and to thrive as permanent staff. We're also doing 2 things that are going to fundamentally lift us up to do a lot more. One of them is we're building a new section of the Bay Area Ridge Trail here on the Peninsula watershed, 6 miles of new trail that's going to go into construction next year. And for the first time, we're going to let people access the watershed by a permit system, which is going to be a little more accessible for them. We're actually building a Watershed Center. This is going to be a building that we own and operate. It's going to be focused on the Sonora Water Temple and the Ag Park next door, and expand the programs we've been running out there for about 10 years with school programs. It's a 700 square mile watershed. There's no possible way to navigate it on your own, but this building will be a microcosm of that. You'll be able to go from the top of the watershed to the bottom as you walk through the building. There's an aquarium built into the inside of the building. We've done a lot of interpretive work with the local Ohlone tribe, and it's going to be an amazing space. A very high priority for us in the last several years has been wildfire risk reduction. Last year, almost a full year ago, literally to the day, was when the SCU fire started in the East Bay, which burned about 10,000 acres of our land and all of the watershed above Calaveras Reservoir and almost all of it above San Antonio Reservoir. The wildfires that came as a result of the lightning storm on August 16th started multiple fires in the Bay Area. On the peninsula here, we were very fortunate that we had an opportunity and the resources to be able to jump on what turned out to be 9 different fires that started that same morning. Luckily, we had people that were able to get up into the watershed locally and support that, led by CAL FIRE. And we put out those 9 different fires that morning. Because we have people that are trained and they have the equipment, we were able to minimize those and put them out and keep them small until we could get help. And thankfully help came and they were all extinguished that first day. One of the reasons we are able to draw such high quality people is because of the landscapes. It's an amazing place to work, and it's really important for us to do a good job and think about the people that are coming later behind us.